Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, and I love this guests of mine, beautiful work and beautiful name, and I'm so going to butcher it, but I'm going to say it. So today I am welcoming Katia Battaglia, and she is a psychotherapist, spiritual teacher, author, and mystic, devoted to guiding souls on their journey of awakening, healing, and self-discovery, which speaks to my soul. So welcome, Katia.
Thank you so much, Terry. I'm quite excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to learn from you and dive into all of this beautiful conversation I know we are going to have. Gosh, I was reading through, I know we connected on Podmatch, which I love. I love Alex and what he's created in the podcast universe with Podmatch. Um, and so I had a number of questions here and I went through and I was like putting big stars next to the one. I was like, we can't dive into all of these, but man, there's some great work that you're doing. I know you have a book, you have your own personal story of triumph. Um, and then one of the questions was, what's the number one key rule for personal and spiritual evolution? I so want to touch upon that too. So let's talk first about what it is you were doing and really what was the inspiration, what has gotten you to this point of the work that you're doing in the world.
Well, I think that it's been a difficult journey in many ways that involved trauma and challenging situations in life. And part of that have been health conditions that they were so serious that I had to really dive into it and find, the doctors couldn't find reasons for it, that kind of thing. And so I had to go and deepen it within myself and discover what it was all about. And that path led me into a path of healing. And in the end, I was in IT before, feeling pretty disconnected. It was just something I chose. And I ended up becoming a psychotherapist because I realized that a lot of what is happening is connected to our emotions and how we respond to things that have happened in the past and are happening in the present. And healing is within all that. And then I started really looking into psychosomatic conditions, meaning conditions that are they have a root in our psyche and they manifest through the body. They're very much real. They're not made up or anything just because they're also connected with our mind and our feelings, but and they manifest very much in the body and they can be horrific. And I had a disease like that. And through studying psychotherapy, and I ended up working for Auckland Hospital in New Zealand in a team that focused on those kinds of conditions. And we were basically the team in the hospital that other doctors didn't quite know what we did. And they gave us the patients that kind of given up on. It's like that team does something. They work with people in a psychological way, and when we can't fix whatever's going on or understand it, we'll just give it to them, and they do something, and it kind of works. So let's let them do what they do. So that's the kind of team that I worked for, and I had the privilege of working under Brian Broom, who was a extremely knowledgeable man who has a beautiful reputation in New Zealand in that field. So we've learned so much about those kinds of conditions, and in particularly autoimmune conditions. And through that, I've managed to heal my own condition, which was called urticaria. And it was a horrific disease, really horrific disease. It was it's basically hives. And what it feels like is as if you were bitten by, let's say, 200 mosquitoes at the same time, all the time, for a year and a half, like morning, evening, like all the time. I felt like that, the itchiness, the pain. the discomfort. It was horrific. Meditation worked for 5 minutes and then stopped, and then I changed medication, and then it made me drowsy. And then I was sleepwalking for a few days, and then I stopped taking the medication, and I was full of hives again. It was horrific. And it would happen every day for kind of a year and a half. Then it would stop for a couple of years, and then it would start all over again and again and again. And there would be these horrific cycles. Yeah, anyone out there who has a horrific autoimmune condition like that will maybe be able to relate. Like it's just awful. And through understanding the reasons and root causes behind all that, I've managed to heal my own disease. It never happened again. And now I'm healing also, not healing because everyone heals themselves, but giving guidance to people who have their own kind of psychosomatic or physical conditions that they're trying to heal. And I'm sharing what we've learned, from working at Auckland Hospital with all those patients. And because a lot of the things will apply then to just all conditions.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your personal story. And I love how you turned your pain into purpose. And I'm so glad that now you're not experiencing that horrific pain. And it's just, I know myself, you and I discussed just a little bit because when we connected through Podmatch, you had brought up hearing about through my show, me talking about my psoriasis. And I know now that all the toxins, I'm no longer living in a toxic environment. All the toxins are out of my body. Everything else, all my other labs, everything else is cleared up. And I've had so many different mediums, psychics, people on the show that have intuitive abilities that have two different nutritionists all tell me, Teri, it's not the toxins that are keeping your body triggered and inflamed and, having this rash. Um, it's emotional. It's the emotional. I had horrible, 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 again, the word you use is horrific, and I use that often, childhood trauma. And so and someone told me you never dealt with the anger part of it. And so it's like, oh, your skin's screaming. Your skin is screaming. And I was like, oh my God, it's so brilliant. So I've been working on that part of it and doing some brain rewiring stuff. But I love that you're talking about the psychosomatic part of it, because I know that's what this lingering thing is with me. Like, no doubt.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story and your example. And I think that that fits perfectly into we worked a lot with psoriasis is one of the diseases that we worked a lot with, a lot of skin conditions, a lot of autoimmune conditions. And why is that? Because our body works in quite a symbolic language. So what we found that all psychosomatic conditions have in common is that with our mind, we're quite intelligent in a way. We can separate from those events that happen in our pasts or are happening in the present. Our mind can go, no, I'm just going to go to work. I'm just going to do all these things and keep myself busy. That's fine. But what we cannot separate is body and emotions. They are one. They cannot be separated. So if we separate the mind, the emotions will express through the body. And they will be symbolic too. So the immune system, what is it? It's very much something that protects us from threats, basically. That's what it does physically, but also symbolically, it's what it does emotionally. So it's the same for my own psychosomatic condition that I had, urticaria. So urticaria basically I explained that my body was reacting as if it was being stung by like all these mosquitoes, bitten. And so what does that mean? It means that the external environment is perceived as something that's dangerous, something that's attacking me, right? That's how symbolic it is, and this is how we can make those connections. And for me, mentally, I felt safe. I felt this, like nothing is dangerous about the environment or anything. Like I had no idea what was going on. But when I started looking into it, I realized that, well, I've been sexually abused in the past, and and I had this history, I think to heal from that, I had this history with men that was very unhealthy, with all the beliefs that I gained from the sexual abuse, I'm responsible for pleasing men, I'm responsible for doing what they want, all these kind of beliefs that started to come from that. And as a result, I've ignored my own boundaries, I've neglected my own feelings, and just given everything up for love in the name of a love, quote unquote. But so what that created was an environment that where men were actually perceived as dangerous for me, where it was actually not safe for me to be around men because I would sacrifice myself unconsciously. I would not be attuned to my needs, my emotions, or any of that. And so when I started to look into that whole psychosomatic theme and look into what is urticaria, why is my body responding to the environment as if it's being attacked when no one's attacking me? I started to discover actually I do feel like that men are threatening and there's something dangerous about it, and there's something in me that is repelled by it, actually by that gender,
Yeah.
and I feel unsafe, and that's what my body was showing me through urticaria.
Yes, and I so relate, having been abused, sexually abused, is one of the horrors I lived through at the hands of many predators. I know one of the things I've talked about maybe one or two times on the show was when I was 10 in fifth grade, and it was kind of like reaching the height of the abuse at that time, that when I was in fifth grade, my choir director was repeatedly sexually abusing me. And so I was at a little Catholic school, and I had a very abusive fifth grade teacher who they assigned me as my counselor. She was a nun, and she was very, very toxic and abusive. So I stopped bathing. Like, I physically stopped bathing, and my parents, my mom particularly, would just, be like, "Why are you so dirty? You need to take a bath, blah, blah, blah." And I know now that I was trying to keep these people, these men, from touching me, right? Like I wanted to be dirty. I didn't want to be quote unquote desirable to them. Like, I didn't want them to touch me. Um, and so now I look at, oh, my skin is like, this rash and this like thing, like, oh, gross. Like, and so I'm like, oh, is there that lingering anger component? Is there that lingering, whatever that emotion is, whether it's anger or not, that thing that's like, I'm going to keep away whatever I perceive to be the danger. Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. Yeah.
Wow, I'm sorry that happened to you, and also it makes so much sense. Like your body was actually developing these symptoms because they somehow protected you and benefited you, in their own strange way. And I had the same for myself. Like when I was actually in relationship with the abuser, a relationship which lasted 3.5 years of my life, my body actually started to develop these sexual symptoms like huge pain in my sexual organs and things like that. They were inexplicable. And painful menstruations, like all these things in my genital area were starting to happen that made no sense. And at the time, of course, I couldn't understand that because I was ignoring all the things that he was doing because he was the only person who loved me, So I needed to ignore all those things. Also, I didn't know any better. I was 14. So I just like ignored all the intuition, all of that, and in order to keep being loved by this man. But my body was constantly trying to speak, and through giving me those pains, and he was actually trying to stop me from having sex with this person because at some point it was so painful that I just couldn't do it anymore. So yeah, the symptoms can actually serve a purpose. And I've had that later in my life as well, in times that I was just so busy. And maybe some of your listeners might be able to relate to this. So busy, and then some disease happens or some accident happens that it just makes you stop. There is no option. The body is kind of so intelligent that it's just creating this magic all the time.
Yes, and I love that you say it's creating the magic because so many people be like, it's not magic, like what's happening, but truly when you can pause to like I've learned to now say, okay, what is the lesson I'm needing to learn here? What is the gift in this? And being able to, while I'm still annoyed that I'm still have this rash, I mean, it's so much better. It's been improving greatly as I've continued to do work. But I can now say, okay, now I get what was happening and why, the rug was pulled out from under me because you're right. I was just busy. Life was good going along, but I needed to learn this lesson. So, and for me, it's been really, truly a spiritual awakening, as well as learning about my body and so much more. So, yeah. Uh,
Wow.
I know one of the things you talk about is one of the questions that I looked at was um, like navigating through difficulties in our life from a spiritual perspective, and so you bring in that spiritual connection as well. Can you talk about that for us?
Sure. Yeah. It's my understanding and my experience, and what I've seen also in my clients, is that there is something deeper that is pulling the strings. It's not just the random coincidences happening in life. It's that often our soul has a mission. It wants us to awaken something in ourselves, and it wants us to step into our potential. So sometimes when we settle for something in life, I'll just do this, I'll just have this menial job, I'll just do nothing or just watch TV shows all my life. Sometimes our soul is just not on board with that kind of thing. It has an agenda. So it will create something in our lives that will force us to listen. And that could be it could be an accident, it could be it could be a miscarriage, it could be something very light, it could be something very serious, it could be cancer. And that's been my observation with cancer. Also, it's been that when there is something that it's so important for us to change, that we really need to reconsider our entire life. Sometimes life will be as dramatic as to give us cancer. And this is not because someone is against us, this is kind of God against us or anything. I believe that our soul is pulling the strings, and it sees that we're not really heading in the direction that we are meant to be. And so it gives us that to open up possibilities. And the body is also an instrument of the soul. This is the one of the huge downsides of our kind of superficial Western society in a way, is that we think of the body as dumb and stupid, as you were kind of saying a little bit, Teri, in other words. But we see the body as, oh, it's having this again, headaches again. I can't sleep again. And we think, oh, it's so dumb. Why can't it just act how I want it to act? And for me, we need a total shift. The body has access to the soul level, to those layers that we often can't access because we just haven't developed our intuition enough. And it's showing us that there's something more aligned for us. So for me, the key is actually to listen to the body, listen to all those tiny bits of intuition that we keep ignoring because, oh, this is nothing, or society says otherwise, or everyone else is doing it, so that's okay. No, like don't ignore any intuition, no matter how small, because intuition is like a muscle, and either you're training to make it sharper or you're training to make it more sleepy. And making it sharper is actually the key for us to live a life that's more aligned.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to me because I think the universe, our soul, God, angels, whatever, they'll keep pushing us, like redirecting. Nope, let's go, this way. You've gone way off path. At least for me, I call them angel whispers, and so yeah, I pay attention. I've learned to pay attention to those angel whispers for sure.
That's totally right. However, each person wants to conceptualize it, but yeah, deep down, I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So now how do you work with folks? Do you do coaching work, group, online? How do people connect with you?
So usually I'm a psychotherapist. As you said, also like I have a book and I reach out in like different ways. But usually I'm a psychotherapist, and for instance, with people who have psychosomatic conditions, we start to look into what are their symptoms. When did the symptoms start? When are they worse? When are they better? And we're like detectives, basically. What was happening in your life when this started? Uh, oh, I just started that relationship, but that's all right. Like they were great. Were they? Just starting to question why did that symptom show up at that time, and questioning a bit deeper. Why is this, why do you have pain in your shoulders all the time? Are you carrying the weight of responsibilities? Just trying to make those links that help people understand themselves better and help make sense of the language of the body and of the soul.
Yeah. Now, are you in New Zealand? Is that where you work
I
from?
am,
Okay. And
yes.
do you only work with people in person local to you, or do you work globally with folks?
I work globally. Yeah, I work online only actually. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, cool. I mean, again, as I sit and listen to you, I'm a fan instantly because everything you're talking about, I can so relate to and so just applaud you again, applaud your work. Um, but I'm that person that I just want to scream from the rooftops, like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to listen to this because it's so resonating. When I know a truth, I feel it in my soul. Like I don't know, my soul expands. Sometimes I get a little teary-eyed, like I just feel it on such a deep, profound level, and I guess an energetic level, really. Um, and so again, what you're talking about, it so resonates. And I love what you talked about at the very beginning, and we had spoken about this very briefly before I hit record, that even psychosomatic, um, that it's still very, very real. The
Mm.
symptoms are very real when you're experiencing. I had a conversation with a loved one about that this week and said, you know, it doesn't make it any less real if a doctor can't pinpoint or give you a magic pill for it or whatever it is that Western medicine tries to do. It You're still experiencing the pain, the anxiety, all the things that come with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I found is one of the big resistances that people have on this topic is like, oh, you think I'm making it up? Like, no, no, no. It's very much real. It just means that everything is connected, basically. And often doctors will do what they do, Western doctors, which is give you medication. And I mean, it's great that symptoms can be lessened, but what that also does is it's quietening the language of the body. And so this is obviously a problem because if the point is for us to listen, for us to be more attuned to what the body's trying to say. And naturally, if you uh, quieten those symptoms, it won't be as obvious what they're trying to say.
Yeah, I so had a vision of the soul being like, ah, I'm trying to tell you something here. Now you've quieted it all. I got to find a different way now. So,
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with mental health conditions like depression, etc. And people tell me like I'm bored, nothing means anything. And it's like this is a sign. This is a sign you of what is absent from your life. Maybe it's community. You're lacking the connection to community. You're not integrated into your community. Maybe it's the connection with culture. What culture do you identify with? Maybe it's the connection with spirit or the connection with nature, the connection with ancestors. There's so many dimensions with the connection with your body. So it's not just, okay, I'm bored. It's like all these things are missing. I think we have more and more people depressed. I don't know what it's like in the States, but in New Zealand, it's huge. I don't remember. I think we have over 50% of people who have been diagnosed with anxiety or depression.
yeah.
And this is a sign. Depression is also a symptom, is saying something. And so yes, we can take medication, and then we'll feel kind of more numb or a little bit happier. But again, we're hiding the problem. We're not meant to be disconnected and isolated. We're meant to connect with at all these levels. We're meant to be one with all of it. And the fact that we feel this satisfaction is showing us there's something more for you. And that feeling that you described, Teri, of like, this resonates so much, I want to scream. Like, that's the thing to pay attention to. Or even if it's just a little inspiration, a little spark that you see from something, from a podcast or from a YouTube video or from a book that you read, just go and read another book from that same person or listen to another podcast because there's something there for you. Follow that inspiration, follow that life force, because that's soul work.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I agree so much. And again, I tell my kids, well, I tell everybody, all of you who are listening, that follow your soul knows your purpose. And so many times, like you said, we'll choose, well, this will pay the bills and I'll go down, I'll do this job or this career path or this degree. And yeah, it's amazing to me because I'll tell my kids, what sets your soul on fire? Like what lights you up? That's the thing. That's your thing. And pursue that. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I usually, yeah, I ask that same question.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, gosh, I've just loved learning from you. Could sit here for quite a long time learning from you. I want to give you the opportunity before we wrap up and close out to maybe leave folks with some words of wisdom or touch upon anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't have an opportunity to.
Well, I would just love to encourage people to really listen to those tiny intuitions that they have, or the language of the body, and follow that life force. And yeah, also to mention that you spoke about the book that I've published, to say that it's called Echoes of the Timeless. It's a fiction book about a young woman's journey of inner transformation and awakening and healing through multiple continents and traditions. So if people are keen, they're also welcome to have a listen or a read. And yeah, and much love. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, wonderful. So what is your website? How do folks connect with you?
My website is katiabatalha.org, CATIABATALHA.org. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you. My heart hug's yours. Thank you for your beautiful work and everything you do and for being here on the show with us today.
Thank you too so much, Teri. Bye.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock here. Just wanted to thank you again for being a part of this healing space and my hashtag Hope for Healing Journey. Thank you for sharing, liking, inviting others to join, listening in. You've really helped this show blossom. It has now been downloaded in 136 countries and is in the top 2% globally out of 3.2 million shows, which is just amazing. And it's all because of you and your tuning in and inviting others and sharing and liking and loving. And your reviews on Apple really help too. My goal is to hit 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. And I am closing in on that. So if you are listening in on Apple or Apple Podcasts, please go and rate the show and leave a review if you absolutely love it. And I would be most appreciative. Also, if you would like to receive my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, please be sure to go to teriwellbrock.com. It's TERI, just one R, WELLBROCK.com. And I have a gift to send you for signing up for that monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. Plus, there are many other resources listed on that page, including a resource library. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.